Well, hello, good day, everyone. Welcome to the last day of the feast. Welcome to day 12 of 12 days of mental strength. It's been a wonderful one for these 12 days, learning things that can make us better mentally, take care of our mental health, become mentally strong. And so today we're going to be capping it up with something very important as well. Now, this series was not exhaustive, right? We didn't exhaust all the skills. We didn't exhaust everything, and for each skill, we didn't go deep into it. But we did all this to raise awareness and to begin the teaching of the skills and the knowledge that will help you get better mentally or develop mental strength. And yesterday we talked about the ability to hold thoughts to cut down distractions. And today we're going to be talking about communicating thoughts, the ability to communicate thoughts. I'll start by saying this, that the ability to communicate what is present in our minds is part of the human design. We are all designed to communicate and express ourselves. It is very natural. It was Jordan Peterson that explained that the ability to communicate and speak contributes to our sanity. That is to say that the person that doesn't have the ability and opportunity to truly communicate their thoughts and their emotions are not all right. I can tell you that with confidence. The people who do not have the ability and don't get the opportunity to truly express their thoughts and their emotions in a way that is intelligible are not all right. Part of how we can organize our thoughts, apart from writing, is speaking to other people, communicating to other people. We do that to bounce off our thoughts, to make sense of them, and then to reorganize them in our minds in a sequential manner so that it makes sense in our heads. Whenever we have ambiguity in our heads, it messes up our whole system. Ambiguity has the ability to create discomfort in the mind. It also has the ability to create discomfort in your life generally. Once you don't have clarity of thoughts and cannot articulate your thoughts and communicate it, chances are that you may become feisty, defensive, or even violent. People who become verbally abusive most times don't mean to. They are just unable to intelligently articulate their speech and communicate it for clarity and understanding. You find out that they struggle more with themselves than the people that they are abusing. I'm a very observant person, and so I observe people. I observe human behavior. I consider myself a keen student of human behavior, and I found this out. Such people who are verbally abusive actually struggle more with themselves than with the people they are abusing. And sometimes that verbal abuse is a sign of an internal struggle. When I see such people, all I see are internal struggles. But the moment you teach someone to articulate and communicate their thoughts, they become more responsible citizens. Now, although there are some people who learn this skill and still decide by an act of their own will to use that ability to cause nuisance, there are such people like that. Such people haven't attained wisdom. All they have is knowledge. They are still like children who are puffed up by knowledge. But people who learn something and gain wisdom from it actually use it intelligently instead of using it to cause trouble. Now, the purpose of speech, amongst other things, is to organize ourselves, organize our minds, and organize how we relate with each other in society. Society is built on our ability to communicate with each other. Language is actually a powerful tool for civilization. It then follows that one of the skills that will help you become mentally strong and mentally healthy is learning to, number one, identify your thoughts, identify the nature of those thoughts, identify the source of those thoughts and the purpose of the thoughts. Every thought that comes to your mind has a nature, it has a texture, it has a source, and it has a purpose. It is not all thoughts that are present in your mind right now that are from you. Some of the thoughts are from your environment. Some of the thoughts are from maybe movies you watched many years ago, maybe music you listened to, or a conversation, or something else. There is always a source of thoughts. So one of the things that will help you become mentally strong and even mentally intelligent, or rather emotionally intelligent, is your ability to identify your thoughts, identify the nature of those thoughts, whether it's positive or negative or just neutral, or the source of those thoughts and the purpose of those thoughts. Your ability to do all that. And then number 2, your ability to organize them in a sequence that makes sense. Yes, if you are able to identify your thoughts and you are able to organize them in a sequence that makes sense, that is part of the skills of becoming a mentally strong person. The number 3 is knowing what portions of that thought that you've organized in a sequence to communicate, knowing what portions of those thoughts to communicate and the ones to leave out, especially the bad ones, the unnecessary ones. And then knowing how to communicate them. I'll take them again. Number 1, the skills that you need to help you become mentally strong in terms of communication is learning how to identify your thoughts, the nature of it, the source, and the purpose. Number 2, learning to organize them in a sequence that makes sense. And number 3, knowing what portions to communicate and what portions to leave out. And then number 4, knowing how to communicate them within the particular context. Because communication happens contextually. Now, let me teach you this, for example. Do you know that the way you communicate in a conflict is not necessarily the way you communicate when you are gisting with friends? Now, when you are gisting with friends, right, especially when you're having a nice time, you can talk, interject, and things like that. But you see, when you're managing conflict or when you're discussing something serious, interjecting people will actually aggravate the situation. Professionally, I will advise that if you're handling conflict or discussing something serious, it's always an intelligent thing to do to learn to let people finish what they're saying before you interrupt them. Now, but in normal settings, casual settings where people just have fun, yes, people can interject and things like that. But during conflict or serious issues, you don't interject, you let people talk. Because if you don't do that, you're going to escalate the issue. So you see that knowing how to communicate those thoughts within a particular context is actually a skill that helps you become mentally strong and a mentally healthy person. Now, this is a very vast course. It might be something I will decide to teach some other time, how to articulate and communicate thoughts. So being able to articulate, communicate your thoughts and emotion in such a way that creates solutions and not problems will impact on your mental health significantly. If your articulation and communication creates more problems and solutions, then it will affect your mind. There'll be more problems, there'll be more mental problems, there'll be more mental health issues. Your mind will become weaker. So one of the things we must learn is being able to articulate and communicate our thoughts and emotions in such a way that creates solutions and not amplify problems. I've also observed that when people don't know how to do this, they resort to maybe body language, sign language, hints, and sometimes fits of violence to express themselves. Like children who can't talk, they cry to express every single emotion until they grow and learn to make intelligent, sounds and conversations. When a child is born, every communication is just tears, just crying, shouting. And as they grow, they learn how to, say what they want, say how they feel and things like that, right? So when people, even adults, don't know how to do this, they resort to body language, sign language, hints and things like that. The fact that someone is 40 doesn't mean that they've grown in their mind. You can be 40 and still a child in your mind. Mental strength, developing mental strength is an integral part of growing too. Right? So these are the reasons why we need to also, learn these skills so that we become more mentally strong and become people who add to society instead of cause problems in society. And also, something I like to point out here. Everybody wants to be understood. Everybody wants to be understood. Now, whilst we seek to be understood, It is important to learn to make ourselves understandable. Let me say that again. While you seek to be understood, it is important that you learn to make yourself understandable so that your communication will not be more difficult than Hebrew and Greek. I've met people in life who, when you ask them a question, they first say you won't understand even before they attempt an explanation. So sometimes I say to them, you've not even tried to explain and you are saying you don't understand. Now, this is often a sign of either of two things. It's either they have a history of being misunderstood, or they have an inability to often express themselves or explain themselves intelligently. And now they know that they can't express themselves intelligently because as they're expressing themselves, they are even confused at what they are saying. So they rely on mind reading, in order to be understood, right? So whilst we seek to be understood, we should seek to make ourselves understandable. It's a skill. It's a necessary survival skill, especially in a society like this. We must learn to offer intelligent explanations. When you find people who are not making sense in their communication, you will see it from their facial expression that they don't even understand what they are saying, and then they're like, you won't understand, and all that, and they just conclude it as nobody understands me, right? So what I'm saying to, if you are someone like that who have had that experience, what I'm saying to you now is that it is possible to learn to express yourself or offer intelligent explanations. You can actually learn it as an art. Maybe I'm going to find out from you guys. I think we have a group. At the end of this conversation, I'll tell you the group to join if you want to be part of this community. I'm going to maybe take a poll and see if you guys want to learn how to articulate thoughts and communicating within different social situations. It's something that can be learned, right? So all I'm saying can be summarized as follows. Number one, you are designed to communicate. If you don't, you may not be totally healthy mentally. Number two, communication can be learned. It is not spooky. It is not strange. It can be learned. There's actually a science to it. You can use your communication to produce different kinds of effects. It's very possible. Number three, if you want to organize your mind, if you want to make it stronger, if you want to make it healthier, you must learn how to communicate your thoughts and emotions without being a tyrant or a terrorist, without using backhanded methods, blackmail, gaslighting, and things like that. You can actually learn to communicate your thoughts directly in a way that can be understood. It's very possible. So I'll give you some tips to help you. Number one, learn to write. This will help you so much. Write down your thoughts and then attempt to explain what you think and feel on paper. Do it a lot. Buy a jotter, buy a journal, and do it as much as possible. Number two, and I do this a lot. These things I'm telling you, I do it a lot. In fact, the walls of my room have heard my voice more than people have. I'm telling you, I practice communication a lot. In fact, sometimes when somebody gets me angry, I can find myself practicing how I'm going to address the issue more than 100 times. So whenever, I'm in a conflict situation, the best thing for me is to take out time and reflect, right? Because I need time to reorganize my thoughts and things like that. Of course, there are situations where in the moment I can, but I find out that I'm more effective when I take out more time to articulate my thoughts. So I do this a lot. When you're alone, practice speaking to yourself about your thoughts and your emotion. Practice it a lot. Let the walls of your room hear your explanation a lot. The more you do this, the better you are at it in social situations. And number three, well, this one works for me. I pray. Prayer helps me organize my mind. Prayer helps me find clarity to very difficult, situations and circumstances, right? So with prayer, I can straighten out whatever ambiguity that I have in my mind. For some people, you might just spend some moments of silence thinking about those thoughts and processing those emotions. Now, it is very important we refine our speaking. The earth depends on it. It is very important we refine our speaking. Your speaking, it impacts your mind even more than it impacts others. I mean, you can be speaking to somebody and they decide to tune you off. There's nothing you can do about it. So what you are saying will impact you more than is impacting them. Just like when you shoot a gun, there's something called the recoil effect. As you shoot that gun, right, the force pushes it backward, right? So as you speak, you are pushing those same things you are saying back into your mind. So your speaking affects you more than it affects others. So we must refine our speaking. If you want to have a refined mind, refine your speaking. And once you push it back to yourself by speaking, it has a way of refining your mind. You are able to think clearly. Now, if the pressure, I'm saying this as an extra, if the pressure of thoughts and emotions are too much for you, by all means, cry, exercise, or pray. Do something reasonable, but don't use vices to tone down the pressure. Never resort to vices to tone down the pressure of thoughts and emotions. It will hurt your mind on the long run. Use tears, use exercise, use prayer, use speaking to someone, but by all means, don't use vices to tune down the pressure. At the end of the day, you will pick up habits that will become too difficult for you to break. Now, if something is too difficult for me, I groan in prayers until I find clarity. That's the way it works for me. I can spend days groaning about an issue inside. I'm not saying grumbling, I'm groaning, like praying deeply, searching my spirit for answers. It works for me. Only God can tell how many times I've come to him and I'm trying to organize my mind through groaning and prayers, and he has seen a lot of it. So sometimes maybe I'm upset about something and I go to him, and I'm groaning about that issue, talking about it, and then in the process of doing that, I find clarity. In fact, there are certain people who have upset me, and I go to God to complain about the matter, or to talk to him about the matter, and to find the best way to approach the matter. And in the process of doing that, I just let it go. And so over the years, it's become easy for me to just let stuff go by doing that a lot. So you need to practice these things a lot if you want to have an organized mind. How you use your mouth affects your mind. Please don't forget this. Let me say it again. How you use your mouth affects your mind. Now, many years ago, I'll round up with this. Many years ago, I had a dream. I think it was 2017. I can't remember. I think I was going through a particular season in my life. And in that dream, it was a very vivid dream, more like a trance or something. So I saw a Chinese sage. I think he was a doctor of sorts, but he was also a philosopher. So I was with him where he was walking, and then he started talking to me. He said, "Let me give you the secrets of how I became great and good at what I do." And he said 3 things to me in that dream or trance. He said, number 1, watch your mouth. Number 2, flatten your tongue. And number 3, in tears, control the pressure. He said, if you do these 3 things, you become a great person. You become great at what you do. And I woke up from that dream pondering what it meant. Now, I understood 2 of it, but one of it was a little bit puzzling for me. Until today, I'm still contemplating what it means to flatten your tongue, right? So, but watch your mouth, flatten your tongue, and in tears, control your pressure. Now, if you notice something about these 3 things, 2 involves your mouth. So you see that if you learn to bridle your mouth, you will solve a lot of problems before they come. And then, of course, in tears, control the pressure. Always find a way to release the pressure of, the hardship or circumstances without inflicting pain on someone else. Some people, when they're in trouble, they look for somebody to just inflict pain on. That is not the way to go about it. You will create more. You create more cycles of pain for other people just because you want to release the pressure. One of the ways to release the pressure that will not hurt the earth, that will not hurt the environment or hurt people, is to do it in tears, in exercise, or through prayer. Learn a civilized approach. We are excellent beings. And we can actually learn the art of excellence. Our communication can be excellent. Our lives can be excellent. We can rise above animal instincts. we can rise above it and actually be true human beings made in the image of God, in the way we conduct ourselves, in the way we behave. If you do these things consistently, these things you've learned for these past 12 days, you must see a positive change. You must see a positive change. So I want to encourage you, no matter what it is you're going through now, it is possible to come out of it. For some of you who are struggling mentally, your mental health is, affected by the circumstances in your life in this present moment. It will not always be like this. Now, I want you to think about this. If you realize that one day you will come out of that circumstance, how will you want to feel when you look back to see how you handled that phase? How do you want to feel about how you handled that phase when it was challenging? Do you want to come out of that challenge and realize that you hurt a lot of people in that process? Would you like to come out of that challenge and realize that you actually didn't hurt anybody, but you came out of it with a good attitude? Think about how you want to feel about how you handled the process of your challenge and your circumstance, and decide for yourself now how you want to conduct yourself. Take these things I've taught you and begin to practice them. And I'm always open to conversations and feedback. If you have a particular one that is too difficult and you need to run it through someone, I'm always available to hear you out. Right? If you do this consistently, you must see positive change. And so I want to thank you for being part of this 12 days of mental strength. I'm sure we are going to have another series that looks like it, and in that series we'll have an opportunity to go deeper and to learn more things that will help us become excellent and efficient people. I also encourage you, share with your loved ones if this has blessed you, right? And as many times as possible, go back from day 1 to day 12 and just go through it, because you haven't really learned something until you've learned it more than one time, right? And if you want to be part of the community, I have a community on Telegram that I created this particular series for, but I decided to make it public, right? So if you want to be part of the community, go to Telegram and search for immersion, or just type t.me/the immersion. t.me/the immersion. I'm going to take it one more time. t.me/the immersion. THEIMMERSION. Oh, and I think I just want to say a prayer for those who are going through a challenge right now. I think I want to say a prayer for those who are going through a challenge right now in their minds. And so if you receive this, Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for these ones. I ask in the name of Jesus that whatever it is that they're currently going through, that you give them the strength and the fortitude to go through it, and give them the wisdom and the peace of mind in the name of Jesus. Help them to come out of it and make them stronger people in the process of it in the name of Jesus. I release upon you the peace of God. I release upon you the wind of the Spirit. And from today, your life will become better instantly than it was in the name of Jesus. You find clarity, you find help, and you find peace in the name of Jesus. Well, thank you very much. I'll see you some other time. This is GI signing out.